KRA's Chief Manager in charge of Policy and Tax Advisory, Lenah Achieng, joins us now on the line. Good morning, Lenah.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
So let's just start by understanding this notice and what it means. So those with VAT and those with income tax obligations need to file their returns, and if they don't, then within 30 days of this notice, you're going to do what with their PIN. What does that what does it just tell me in simple layman's language?
Okay. Thank you so much. I believe you have seen the notice that we have issued further clarification this morning. And what we are trying to do is just to clean up our records. So what usually happens is that when you apply for a PIN, you indicate why you want that PIN. So it can be for one purpose or another. Usually it's for tax purposes. Perhaps you have an income or you're going to undertake a transaction for which you need to account for taxes. So as has been earlier said, it can either be for income tax, for VAT, for excise or one tax or another. So what we have realized as an authority is that over time, some taxpayers probably cease to conduct these businesses and they do not inform the commissioner. So for example, if you are trading in goods and services that are subject to VAT, so you picked a VAT obligation when you're registering for your PIN, then you stop the business. So as the authority, we still see the VAT obligation and we require you to file a return every month, but you have not been filing. And we are also not aware that you have ceased doing that business. Mm-hmm. So what we are calling you to do then is to come and inform the commissioner that I am no longer in this business and I therefore no longer need this obligation. And therefore, please deregister this obligation. So what we are looking to do is to clean up those obligations that are no longer in use by the taxpayers so that you can have a true record of what you're actually using your PIN for. Okay. So in short, that is what the authority is trying to achieve.
So it's positive.
Okay. So was that? I mean, okay. I think it's a good thing. Every now spring cleaning, essentially, of the records, right? Were these individuals or are these individuals being communicated to and with about this current exercise? Do they know that this, or were they informed beforehand that this is what is going to happen? These are our plans, and then. Or was it just kind of, look, we've not heard from you for the last X amount of months and this is what we're doing next?
Okay. Yes, the commissioner is required to inform the taxpayer, but as we have clarified again in our new notice this morning, is that we are giving you an opportunity. We may not know that you have stopped this. So if you see our notice and you feel like you fall within this category of somebody who is no longer using that tax obligation, then please reach out to the commissioner. But we shall communicate for the ones that we have identified and inform them that we have realized you're no longer using this, and we will proceed to register the obligation. So if you have not seen the notice but you get our communication, then we urge you to reach out and confirm if we can proceed with the same. But yes, the law requires us to inform you and also to inform you of the reasons why.
The way you've explained it, I mean, this thing, it sounds like I would happily volunteer because it's clear that there's no jail term awaiting me or there's no harassment by the police. But you must have a word with a certain writer in the Business Daily, a gentleman by the name of John Mutua, whose article states otherwise. His article seems to indicate that a lot of this is arising from a declaration that the president made specifically targeting high net worth individuals who apparently they have a visible lifestyle that doesn't conform with their tax obligations to the country. So there is this element that has been brought into it. And also, what has also been brought into it is the issue of the targets that KRA has and it has to meet, and how it is that they now want to ensure that people who haven't been paying taxes are now put in a position where they have very little option other than to pay those taxes or risk the registration. Not my perspective. I only read this perspective, and I'd like you to respond to it.
Okay. In terms of taxpayers who are not compliant, if we know you're doing business and you're not compliant, we have other mechanisms of dealing with that. It will not be the registration of your PIN. Yeah, there are other mechanisms within the law to ensure that you pay your taxes. Because remember, if you deregister your PIN, then the impact is not good for you, because it means you cannot conduct visitors, and that is not what we are looking to do. So no, we do not approach compliance enforcement through the registering of PINs. What we do is we reach out to you, tell you we have realized that this area of non-compliance, and we urge you to comply before we take any enforcement measures. And in terms of the targets, I don't think the authority will say it will meet its targets by the registering PINs. No. That is not a way to meet your targets.
Very true.
Yeah.
You put it so nicely. Is this how you actually put it to these people who clearly seem to be heading towards, well, avoiding paying their tax? Do you actually write these nice, you put it nicely, do you write these nice, polite letters to them and tell them, sir, madam, it has come to our attention that perhaps, or is it, where, nani, iko hivi, eh? 14 days.
Uko na siku tatu.
Otherwise, you know who we are and we know where to find you.
We know where you are.
I think it depends, because there are those ones who probably this is a one-off non-compliance, and it's probably because of one thing or another, knowing the situation in the country right now. For example, a lot of businesses have been struggling. So we take different approaches depending on the nature of the taxpayer and the nature of your compliance background. And where we realize that it's just an issue of probably it's a cash flow problem, then we have options like coming up with a payment plan for you to pay your taxes. So it depends on the taxpayer, but we try as much as possible to understand the situation that has led to your non-compliance. But you also have to remember that if you don't pay your taxes, then there are areas in the provision of social services that suffers. So we try as much as possible to urge you to comply with the law and to pay your taxes. Where you need support, of course, we are willing to give support.
Okay. So this long list of names that was then floated yesterday, these folks don't have, is it again a notice to them, or are you done with that one? These people, if they come to you and ask for some kind of reprieve, will that be granted them, or has the decision already been taken? Because folks may be sitting wondering, okay, so my name has appeared on this list. What must I then do? Or am I already cooked? Is my goose already cooked, as it were?
Not at all. Your goose is not cooked, as you say, because as you're saying, what we are informing you is that we have noticed that you have not been filing returns, you have not been paying any taxes. So are you in business? Do you require this obligation still, or do you want us to deregister it?
Okay.
So they can still reach out and say that, no, it is just because of one reason or another I haven't been able to do this, or I still require this obligation, but I don't need this other one, so you can deregister this one.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to recap and then to understand, what KRA is trying to do is clean up the system. You have noticed there are some individuals and businesses that have an obligation on VAT or income tax, and they haven't been filing at all. No nil return, nothing. No filing. And now you're saying that you'd like to clean up the system by saying, if you are in any of these categories, we are one of the people that, or companies that we have noticed, we'd like you then to regularize your status. And if you don't, then we are going to deregister. Are you deregistering the PIN, or are you removing the obligation from the PIN? Which is which?
We are removing the obligation for the PIN. That is the intention. If you want your PIN cancelled, then you also have to inform the commissioner, because the law also allows for that provision.
Okay.
But what we are looking to do is to remove obligations that are no longer being used by the taxpayers.
How easy is it for, these things happen all the time. Huh? People, you have this great desire and urge to open a side hustle, and you want this thing to become the next big thing, and you retire from your employment and go into this side hustle, or those that just go straight into business. So you go and register a company, and without much knowledge, you register for all obligations, weka VAT, weka income tax, weka everything. And then those obligations come in. How easy is it for somebody when they realize, I can't meet all these obligations, or maybe actually they don't even apply to me? How easy is it to come to KRA and register? Do I actually have to walk into the KRA office, or can I just log in online and just click and check a box?
You don't have to walk to the KRA offices, because we have automated all these processes. We have automated PIN registration. You can, as I said, when you apply for your PIN, so if you realize that perhaps you picked some in error, or that you're not using others, then just through the same system you can go and request for the removal of the obligations. And actually, let's say, in the example you've given, you had this side hustle that you thought was a great idea, but it wasn't, and maybe you think that maybe it's just an issue of time. We even have an option of putting that obligation on dormancy for the period that you're still not using it. If you're not ready to deregister it, but you want to hold off on it until maybe your business picks up, you can have it on dormancy until when you actually need it. And all that can be done online.
And how do you get to this online platform?
That is the iTax platform. And I'm hoping you're asking this for the purposes of your listeners, but that you know how to get onto it and
It's
file your
actually
return.
Siti's favorite platform. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So it's
As
the
you can
iTax
see,
platform.
among the things that I'm able to do, I'm actually able to have a spokesman on the show.
Yes. So it is your normal iTax platform. You log in using your PIN and your password, and then it has different activities that you can take in there. Whether you want to do registration, that is now applying for a PIN or applying for a new obligation. You want to deregister, you can put it in there if you want to do dormancy. When you want to file your returns, that is the same platform you use. When you want to apply for a refund, all that is provided for in there.
You mean KRA actually gives people refunds?
Yes, we do.
Okay, what do I need to do to get a refund?
You need to have overpaid
wow.
first.
You should have.
Yes.
You need to know what iTax is, first of all.
By the way, these spokespeople that I told you about, they've even decided to be your spokespeople now. Let me address the question to you because they seem to be answering the question on your behalf. How exactly does one go about getting a tax refund?
So as my spokespeople have said, you first of all have to pay taxes. And then at the end of the year, when you finally have now your details of how much income you made and you look at the taxes you pay and you realize that you had an overpayment, then in that case, then you go into the system and apply for a refund. So you tell the commissioner, this is what my return shows, but I overpaid my taxes and therefore would like a repayment of that tax. So you get a refund, yes.
Lenah, for all the things that you've said, it makes sense that, look, we're not saying we're chasing people away. We're saying, come and tell us the reasons why this is not happening. There are many options that are available to you. But I must say this again, and the last time we spoke with somebody from KRA, we said the same thing. The approach does not come out as friendly as it does when I'm hearing you say these things this morning. And I can tell you for a fact, the people who may have seen their names on that list right now, their teeth are chattering in fear because they are wondering what on earth is going to happen to me. Right? So I've not been doing this. Is somebody going to come for me? It doesn't sound as friendly when I see my name on a list or when I see that communication in the paper and I could be one of the ones on that list. It sounds very friendly the way you're telling it to us now. And it sounds very understandable, the communication that you're giving. Is there a way that this communication in the way you're giving it now can also come out to the general public this way on a regular basis? Because I'm telling you, people are scared and they're thinking that something untoward is going to happen to them. And from what you're saying, there are options that people can work around.
Thank you. I think that is very good feedback for us as KRA and how we approach some of these issues. And I know sometimes dealing with the Revenue Authority can be very scary. But as I have reiterated, and I think that is why.
Did I hear you
and I
say
think that is
sometimes?
why we're here today.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the reasons why we are here today. And we thank you so much for the platform you've given us, just to clarify what we are trying to achieve. And we'll still work more, of course, with the feedback we've gotten from the release of that notice, to just make it clear to the public what we are trying to do and how this helps them. Yeah.
Actually, it helps tremendously because let me talk from a personal perspective. This iTax thing, I actually had to get the help of an expert, somebody who has studied accounting, understands how this thing works. Because when I tried, it's not. I mean, it's probably a reflection of my competency or the lack of competency there of IT platforms. But it wasn't an easy thing, and yet, when this expert showed me how it was done, it appeared easy. Then I tried on my own, it became difficult again. So I stopped doing it and allowed the expert to do it for me. Because have you heard similar sentiments, or is this just me who is technically incompetent when it comes to these IT issues?
We have had that a lot. And what we are trying to do is to simplify, especially return filing. So if you're aware, for example, in the case of persons who only have employment income, we have auto-populated returns. So since your employer is already deducting your pay every month, we take that information and feed it into your return. So at the time you're filing your return, all you do is just to confirm that what has been captured is correct, and then you submit it. So we are looking to expand that scope and see how many more people we can bring in. Of course, it may be a challenge if you have income other than employment income, because we have to have information on that to auto-populate your return, but it's something that we are working on. And we've also now even gone on mobile. I'm sure you're aware of that. We have an app that allows you to actually file your return on your phone. So it's work in progress, and we appreciate any feedback on how we can help with simplifying your interactions with the tax authority.
A question coming in here, somebody asking, so I've been filing nil returns, either for as myself individually or for my company. Is there a period of, after which KRA will now be like, you've been filing too many nil returns. We need to have a conversation. Or is it okay for me to just be filing nil returns if I indeed have nothing to return?
A nil return is also a declaration to the commissioner, because what you're telling the commissioner is that for this year of income, I did not have any income to declare. So to the extent that that information is correct and accurate, then we have no problem with that. If there are any issues, we suspect that you are actually carrying on business, but you're not declaring it. And because, of course, we'll have ways of finding this out. For example, if you're trading with somebody else and they're declaring, or rather claiming an expense that they paid to you.
Yeah.
So some of this information is what would help us confirm that. But a nil return is actually encouraged when you have no income, so that you tell the commission, I don't have any income this year. So that is why I'm filing this.
To file nil returns, and then you see trucks of me delivering stuff to said supermarket, and then you see checks in the system that they've paid to me. It'd be difficult for me to come and say, okay, I have a nil return on this year after year.
Yeah, that will not be possible.
KRA is basically that landlord. Unakula nyama na unajalipa rent. Na unakaranga nyama kila siku. No, pay something. The issue, as we conclude, Lenah, of minimum tax. Of course, yes, there are very many challenges that have been raised around it. But just for clarification, does minimum tax then mean that you are saying that companies will no longer be able to be filing nil returns? Because there's going to be a minimum tax that I pay.
Minimum tax does not mean you cannot file a nil return, because remember, minimum tax is based on your turnover. So you actually have business. Yeah. So if a company, again, assume does not have any business at all, has no sales, then minimum tax will not apply to it. It is a tax on turnover.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we want to thank you very much, Lenah, for joining us and clarifying. But one final question from CT.
Well, actually, it's one of our listeners who's asked this question. What if I filed a nil return and didn't know that you have a 20,000 fine for those who do not comply with your regulations?
Like after midnight on certain date, pop, it goes into effect. And I've just told you I've not made any income, and you're asking me for a fine of 20,000. We're serious.
Actually, I'm going to assume the fine they're talking about is a penalty for late filing of your return. And the penalty for late filing for a return for an individual is not 20,000. It is 2,000.
Oh, 2,000.
And
you reduced it.
But that doesn't mean that you should file your return late, because you have from January to June to file your return. Why do you want to give the government 2,000 that it doesn't have to have? So
sometimes on the 30th of June, that system is busy. And I was busy before 30th of June.
And then I forgot.
Now we are reminding you, and it's 4th of May.
Okay. Lenah, thank you very much. Lenah Achieng is the Chief Manager for Policy and Tax Advisory at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Let's hope to have you again soon, Lenah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lenah. Thank you so much.